Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Generally speaking, the entire Saints brass makes the trip over to Mobile, closest NFL team to the Senior Bowl. But that's not the case this year because Dennis Allen is in New Orleans interviewing offensive coordinator candidates. So we saw Jeff Ireland was there, and so Saints certainly have a presence at the Senior Bowl, but it's a little lessened this year because they've got work to do in terms of offensive coordinators. And we continue to hear names that are presented, and we've gone through a lot of them. Gerard Johnson said he's going to stay in Houston. We don't know about the two guys in San Francisco, what they're going to do, potentially have to wait through the Super Bowl with that. But there are another couple names that I'd like to talk about that have been interviewed reportedly by New Orleans. One of them is Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy has been in my NFL world for a couple of years now, as you well know, because he's been in Chicago, and I've got some social media eyeballs focused at Chicago for my Cubbies, but it intersects with the Bears and Bulls and Blackhawks at times, and during football season, I was getting a lot of Luke Getsy content, and not very much of it was positive, because the Bears weren't very good and Justin Fields wasn't playing all that well. He certainly wasn't playing consistently well. Luke Getsy is a young man. He turns 40 coming up next month. He's been in the NFL as a coach since 2014. His best work, and I use air quotes there, certainly came in 2 years where he was Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach in Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers was the MVP in back-to-back seasons. That's fantastic. He moved over to Chicago, division rival, to take over offensive coordinator duties there in 2022 and 2023. He did call the plays for the Bears. Bears were 18th in the NFL in points per game last year and 20th in yards per game. It was not a great offense, but it's an offense that was piloted by Justin Fields, and how much do we know about how good Justin Fields is? It makes a lot of sense that Luke Getsy's got a great offense when he's got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and a not-so-great offense when he's got Justin Fields as a quarterback. So what do we glean from that? I don't know. What I know is that New England's interested in Luke Getsy and New Orleans is interested in Luke Getsy, and they're both interviewing him multiple times. Question for Luke Getsy is, like, which of those is a little bit more attractive? And that probably comes out in the answers that he's given in the New England interview. Because it's one thing if you're going to be the offensive coordinator in New England and Mac Jones is the guy that your wagon's hitched to. That's not a very attractive career opportunity. It's quite another if at number 3, the Patriots are planning on taking Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, whoever's there. Then all of a sudden, you've got fresh clay to mold. Your expectations might dip a little bit. That's a pretty comfy work environment to have a top 3 quarterback pick in his first year. Or do you want to go where you got a guy that knows the position, like Aaron Rodgers did when you took over, and you deal with Derek Carr, who may not have the upside of any of those guys, but he knows what he's doing and can run an offense? I think it's an interesting dichotomy there between the two options that Luke Getsy may have. Greg Lewis is another option that the Saints have reportedly interviewed a couple of times, 43 years old, another young coach. He was actually with the Saints in 2015 as an assistant. He was the Eagles wide receiver coach in 2016 and then moved over to the Chiefs from 2017 to 2022 where he coached wide receivers. To me, that's two really good places to work in those time frames. Doug Peterson with Philly and Andy Reid with KC, Eric Bieniemy as well. That's a lot of really, really good offensive minds that Greg Lewis has been around. He was with the Ravens this year. They had a great offense. They're going to produce the MVP from this year. The knock on Greg Lewis, he has never called plays. That is the case with quite a few of the people that the Saints have interviewed. And it's not a requirement for the job. It's just nice to have that experience. Everybody's got to have their first chance to call plays. Sean McVay had his first chance to call plays. Kyle Shanahan had his first chance to call plays. Mike McDonald has his first chance to call plays. Like, everybody's got to get their break somewhere. Question is, if you're Dennis Allen and you feel like you're going into the most important year of your professional life, do you want someone who's never called plays doing it? I don't know. Brian Johnson is another name that has come up. He's turns 37 next month. He was Philly's offensive coordinator this year, was let go after that year. They just hit a wall at some point around Thanksgiving and it just shut down. And Brian Johnson has had a mobile quarterback essentially everywhere he's ever been, whether it's in college or the NFL. Jalen Hurts being the most recent example of that. And Derek Carr is the antithesis of a mobile quarterback. He's got lead feet. Good arm, lead feet. So I'm not really here to break news or give earth-shattering opinions on these offensive coordinator candidates that the Saints are firing out there. There are absolutely positives with all of them, and there are drawbacks with each and every one of them. I would personally, if I were Dennis Allen, like to have someone come in that has called plays before. I would lean to that side. Not a requirement, but I would lean to that side. And I think Luke Getsy makes some sense here. Being a guy that has worked with a veteran quarterback, it went well that way, and then you had some bumps in the road to get in Chicago. Chicago has not been very stable really ever, but certainly not in the last 10 years or so. They've juggled quarterbacks, Fields, Trubisky. They had a year with Andy Dalton up there. There was the Cutler. They haven't gotten on the same page with the quarterback. They've juggled coaches as well. The general manager's been in and out. It's been a messy situation in Chicago. They've got bad ownership that puts bad people in charge, and they haven't done a good job, especially on the offensive side of things. And I hesitate to hold Justin Fields' performance directly against Luke Getsy. I'm also not going to throw a ton of flowers at him because Aaron Rodgers won the MVP while he was the quarterback coach there. That guy kind of knows what he's doing. But I think that those experiences in dealing with a guy at the top of the league and dealing with a guy trying to figure out the league are valuable on both sides of the spectrum. And I think the Saints are a pretty stable offense to come into. Not explosive, not dynamic, not elite by any circumstance, but it's a pretty stable spot, like Green Bay would have been with just a much better quarterback. There's an element of fear that goes into going to New England and having a rookie quarterback. There's an element of comfort, I think, that comes with coaching an experienced quarterback. And I think Luke Getsy makes a lot of sense. He's certainly available, and they can make that happen whenever it is they want. The longer this drags out, and it's Wednesday now, if this goes through the weekend and they haven't hired any of these guys that they've interviewed multiple times, doesn't it start to feel like San Francisco is where you need to have eyes? That's just the read that I have. The Saints have the luxury of time. They're not in a huge hurry. Now, they're in a competition with some other teams that are looking for offensive coaches, and they continue to be hired. So from that perspective, there's a little bit of a rush on time. But as far as identifying your guy, you need to get that done and worry about that more than you do what day it's announced. But my read on the situation as we continue to hear multiple interviews from all these candidates is, if they don't announce anything, I'm looking at the Super Bowl, and I think that's what's holding this up. And there's no rule that says you can't announce a hiring before a guy coaches in the Super Bowl. That happens sometimes. Certainly happens in the college game. A lot of coordinators get head jobs in December before playing in a college football playoff. But to me, I just think we're starting to drift towards, okay, maybe this is a Brian Greasy situation. But time will tell. Saints right now have a presence at the Senior Bowl where our guys are, and certainly are continuing to conduct these interviews as more names surface, more folks are reported. We'll continue to kind of give our thoughts on them and kind of a brief bio on them. But I think right now it feels like a little bit of San Francisco. We'll see. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.